Hello. Since there was so many requests for Dmitri Donskoi, I figured might as well feature another game since I am playing at a fair amount. This game here, matched up against tier 10s once again. This is fairly common, honestly, when you play tier 9s. You're gonna be constantly in the 8 to 10 bracket mostly. I mean, you can get lucky and end up against tier 7s, but most of the time it's going to be a mix-up of tier 8 to tier 10 is going to be the usual stuff that you'll be against. I'm playing on NA, and of course the Desert Fox from NA, who invited me to a division when he noticed I was on, so why not, might as well join him. He still asks, give me a heads up if I want to smoke, but I'm telling him he can keep it because they have carriers, they have multiple radar cruisers, they have multiple DDs. He's probably going to be in a bigger need of the smoke than I am, so I'm just going to play like I usually play solo with the Donskoi and not rely on the smoke at all. And of course, first target, as soon as you spot something, I open fire. I'm not going to waste time and trying to sneak up on these because, well, the Moskva can shoot back just as hard as I can shoot at him, but of course, if you're kiting away, you always have the advantage. Instant fire started on him. He instantly repairs it before he's in cover, which is foolish because it takes, the repair lasts 5 seconds. And it takes more than 5 seconds for my shells to actually travel all the way to him. So by the time his repair is finished, well, I already started a second fire, and this one is going to be permanent, which he can't repair. And I'm telling, of course, my buddy so that he can focus fire this guy and maybe get some additional fires going on him. So he's already at a disadvantage. Of course, the permanent fire also increases his spotting distance a fair bit, so multiple problems is caused by instantly repairing one fire. Which is of course why I never ever recommend it. Someone chunked me out a bit when I turned in, probably one of the battleships. Of course, when you play the Donskoi, it's got a large citadel, it's fairly papery, the armor isn't much to brag about, so you're gonna be a target. So keeping constant awareness of where the battleships are positioned is pretty much a must-have or a must-do kind of thing. You need to keep an eye out. I see the shooting is the North Carolina. Yes, shells coming my way, so I instantly turn hard left to make sure it's not citadel hits. He gets I think one good pen, but mostly over pens. And that's kind of, you never want to be sailing in a straight line, especially if you see battleships pop up on the horizon. Especially keeping an eye out on the minimap is important because they pop up on the minimap before they pop up in your actual vision. So you can see battleships shooting at you on the minimap before they actually show up on the screen, which is very important if we're talking shorter ranges. And the Moskva is still here, so I'm of course going to go to work on him, sticking to HE. I've often called the Moskva a small battleship, and I'm basically treating it exactly the same way here. Just gonna burn it to the ground, just like I would do to a battleship. He started turning broadside, so I switched to AP. But what is he doing? Is he gonna give broadside? In general, you don't want to hold your shells too long because it's a waste of DPM, especially since I'm already spotted, so there's no surprise factor here. What exactly is he doing? Well, he's grounding. Okay, so now there's no point. I just aim for his superstructure and I switch back to HE. I was hoping he would do something else, but turns out he's just grounding, so whatever. I do some damage, but honestly much better to just use HE. I use the torpedo indicator real fast to see if he's reversing already or not. That's of course something I recommend you get used to. That's one of the advantages the Donskoi has over the Moskva, especially when you're shooting at targets far away. You can quickly switch, just by pressing 3 quickly, you can get a general idea of which way a target is moving. And a quick tap on that can also be useful when you're radaring DDs. Are they reversing? Are they turning around? The lead indicator will tell you much quicker than the actual smoke trails on the ship will. I'm asking why a carrier wasted his drop on a Moskva, North Carolina, and all that other cover that was there, which was kind of pointless. This Moskva was already dead. He lost all his planes and he only landed 1 torp, so our Taiho kind of wasted his planes there, hence the question, why drop him? He was not going to get away from that alive regardless. He's dead, so I switched to the next target. Now, important is when you select targets like this, the Bismarck might be easier to hit, but the North Carolina is the rightmost target, which means that when I angle away, when I angle like this, I need to show the least amount of broadside to the North Carolina to keep shooting him. So ultimately I want to fire on the North Carolina, but my 2 fires are still ticking on him, So there's no point for me to shoot at him at this point. But as soon as I notice that the North Carolina has used his repair, I will go back to him, which is why you'll see me glancing at him every now and then to see if he's used it or not. And you see he's used his repair, so now I go back to him. Of course, the further to the left my target is, the more broadside I have to show to these targets right here. So that's why you should always choose, the priority should be of course closest, but there are cases where it's better to shoot the target that's further away if it means that you can get away with showing less broadside to him. You see, of course, now Bismarck takes the place as the rightmost target, and he's already shooting at me, so I'm just going to drop my last few shells, I think, at this North Carolina. And it's time. I actually want to keep working on this guy, because I know he's used his repair. So shooting the Bismarck is good, but I'm kind of running out of space here. But you see, I switched target now to the rightmost target once more. This is to constantly keep this angle going. But losing vision and of course running out of space here is a bit of an issue. And as I said earlier, in my earlier commentary regarding the Donskoi, you really don't want to get too close to the border and start border humping it, because the Donskoi is an especially fast cruiser, and your agility and dodging is a large part of survivability. And border humping, it's good against someone who's never seen it before, but if you have any sort of experience in shooting, once you notice the speed drop on the target, once you border hump a bit too long, your speed drops to very, very slow, and you're quite easy to predict. And of course, as I said earlier, the armor on the ship is paper, so you don't really want to be tanking shots, you want to be avoiding them to begin with. He turns away, so I turn in to chase him. I want to keep arcs on targets at all times. Notice that I'm playing at pretty much extreme ranges. This range I prefer to play at varies greatly depending on what kind of opposition I'm up against, but seeing as I'm against plenty of high tier ships and including tier 10 cruisers like the Moskva that have very, very punishing long range AP, I choose to play at a further back, more defensive role. Of course, this needs to vary depending on the team situation as well. Right now we're holding fairly stable, we seem to have a small lead in kills, but of course, if the just like I said in my Chapaiva commentary, there are times when you need to stop sitting back, stop sniping with HE, and move in and make a difference. And that of course applies just as much to the Dmitri Donskoi as any other ship. No, your strengths are of course at longer range, and going close is of course not to your advantage, but sometimes you just have to do it regardless because the situation calls for it. But so far, there's no issues with me playing far back and just dealing constant damage from here. Switching to the Friedrich der Große. Now of course, since I'm angling the other way, I want to shoot at the leftmost target in this case. And of course the leftmost target and the closest target for me, well not technically closest, the Baltimore is closer, but the leftmost target is the Friedrich der Große. Should I want to turn all my guns to shoot at the closer target, I would have to give full broadside almost to this Friedrich. So of course I want to avoid that, and I want to keep this angle where the only one who gets to see a large amount of broadside is this ship I'm actually shooting at, and everyone else is on a line to the right from this. Of course, once again, this depends on which way you are kiting. Kutuzov, if the Kutuzov was a battleship, I would probably switch primary target to the Kutuzov, but giving broadside at this range to a Kutuzov isn't that scary of an issue because the AP isn't really that potent. It's doubtful he'll be able to do anything against my angled ship from there. So I'd rather just continue harassing this Friedrich der Große, who appears to eat a torpedo. So if he has repair up, he must use it now or he'll be flooding as well. Looks like he doesn't have a repair. I think only one of those fires are mine though. Or no, actually none of the fires are mine. I'm not getting any damage. So I'm just, but the fact that he didn't repair after eating the torp means that he doesn't have repair, which of course means I'm gonna keep harassing him here. Now the fact that the enemy team has had 2 caps the entire time is starting to hurt. Of course our DDs died very early and we just have an Udaloy. And Udaloy, of course, is not very good at capping points, especially not when the enemy has a Fletcher alive, and especially not when the enemy has a carrier. So our only option really is to try to whittle them down by kills. And this Friede de Grosse is a prime target, of course. The flooding also incurs a movement speed penalty, and his engine is broken. That's what happens when you take... If you take a torpedo right to the middle of the ship, you of course gain the benefits of the torpedo belt, but there's also a chance of it knocking out your engine, which is what happened to him. Okay, he is dead. I want to turn in, close in, because, well, the two targets they have that scare me at this point. Moskva is of course always a threat, but angled his AP isn't that dangerous. But even when angled, the big threats are the Amagi and of course the Bismarck. The Bismarck is so far away that the primary target that I actually want to start working on is the Amagi that is at B. And of course, I kind of want to get closer to this other Bismarck as well, so I can offer some anti-air protection, because as I've said before, the anti-air on the ship is actually very, very strong. And this, of course, the fact that you can kind of sail around with your battleships in the back line is what makes it such a strong fleet escort. This long range combined with the strong AA makes you a very good escort ship and kind of prevents their carrier from even going for them, because, well, if they do, I will wreck their planes. Now, however, I am within range of the Amagi, so the Amagi instantly becomes my primary target. Once again, I angle to the left so that I'm angled towards all the ships at sea. They have a hard time getting full broadsides on me, and I work on the Amagi. Every now and then you'll notice I'll take a look at the ships at sea just to see in case I see some guns pointed my way. Just a quick zoom to check where the guns are pointing, to make sure that if they go for me, I won't get wrecked and caught by surprise. Dropping the Moskva, I pop defensive AA just to see if I can help him, but since I don't have AFT spec, he's probably just outside of range. It seems like, I don't know if he has defensive AA himself, because he ate a lot of damage. The Moskva is pushing hard in. Bismarck he's aiming at me, I think, so I'm turning hard in. Once again, that's why I always keep an eye out. When you play this ship, you want to always keep an eye out on enemy battleships. Where are the guns pointed? And you want to constantly know from which direction the threats are coming. In this case, I know where the threats are. It's the Bismarck, he's behind an island, so I can show broadside right now because the Moskva isn't even aiming at me. But when he comes around that corner, it's going to become a huge threat to me, and this position I'm holding is going to become dangerous. So at this point, I decide to just keep turning hard left. Abandon. I would like to shoot a full AP volley at this Moskva, but the Bismarck was aiming at me, so I abandoned that idea altogether, and I just make a full turn. Yeah, this is not worth it. I'm just going to make a full turn to the left and reposition myself. You have to take these moments when you realize that if you want the target you really want to shoot at, but you are giving a bad broadside, then it's a good time to consider just turning your ship around. The turret traverse isn't that bad that it punishes you that much, and you can still continue working on him with your back turrets. But never take unnecessary risks, because this ship, as said earlier, can get deleted very, very quickly. The scores are starting to get a bit scary at this point. I think this kill will even it out again a bit. The problem is, of course, that they constantly have 2 caps, which is generating a lot of points for them. Secondaries dealt with him, so now I'm going to start working on the Bismarck. Problem is, of course, my friendly Bismarck is now so far out of range that my defensive AA isn't able to reach him. But regardless, not much I can do. I angle against the Kutuzov, I turn in towards the Kutuzov, so I want to move towards the C cap, and at the same time I want to, of course, get my guns in on the Bismarck and start working on him. Looks like Taiho is dropping him, so he's gonna get some damage in there. I don't know if he does have his repair ready or not. There's a Kutuzov in front of me, there's a Fletcher somewhere here as well, but I'm just gonna haul ass all the way towards C. Once again, my team has done some questionable things on the north, as you can see. Well, like Taiho actually moving around is a good thing. The New Orleans, though, I'm not entirely certain why he's gone through the enemy base. Some interesting choices there. I managed to burn down the Bismarck, though, of course with the help of the carrier. I am constantly detected, but since I fired, it can be pretty much anywhere. I need to wait for this debuff to disappear. Never mind, I found out why now. The Kutuzov pops up. I switched to AP, of course. As long as he gives any sort of broadside, I can punish that very, very hard. Udaloy says he's going for B now, so I'll push for C to prevent the point gain they have. They are already up to 840 points. He switches to AP as well, which means of course every time he shoots I have to turn in or I risk eating a lot of damage. At this point I decide it's time to switch to HE here. I think the Fletcher recognizes me here, realized who it is. But at this point I'm just gonna stick to HE, not gonna bother switching back to AP. I think just safer to just burn him down. He repaired the first fire, so I know any sort of fire will guaranteed kill him. I think this volley is gonna kill him, so I use my own repair on his fire. And turning into the AP of course makes me bounce all the shells. Essex is getting into range, which is good, and because our Udalo is contesting B, that stops the point hemorrhaging from that side. I really want to punish this Baltimore though. I didn't get a fire, I was hoping to get a fire on the Essex, but no such luck. Now I gotta focus on the Baltimore though, because if the Baltimore turns his guns towards me, the USN AP is incredibly strong, and it's very, very risky for me. Okay, he's going full speed. I drop preemptive torps in case he tries to speed around that island. I'm not too worried if he decides to rush me, to brawl me, because I got torps on the other side that I can play around. If you're closing in like this, never use torps on the both side, because then if the enemy ship decides to rush you, then you're in trouble. I use C to switch my point of view from the back turrets to the front turrets to get a better point of vision. You saw there how my camera suddenly shifted to the right. That was because I switched between front and back turrets to get a better point of view, and this way I'm able to reach him even though it looks like he's sailing around the island. This guy really needs to die though. They're up to 930 points. I'm aiming higher because I know he's angled, which means he'll bounce a lot of my shells. Oh, looks like the carrier's going in for the drop on me. His planes are threatening me, so I pop defensive AA. I don't bother focusing them because I don't have time. They have 969 points now. They almost have the win, so I really need to finish this guy. I switch to HE. The torps look like they're missing me, or he panic dropped them because I turned away and popped defensive AA. That doesn't matter. Oh no, I think that might have been Fletcher torps actually. It doesn't matter. This HE should finish. They're 980 points. But the HE kills him, and my torps on the Essex hit him as well, so that's great. My defensive AA is slaughtering the planes, so no issues there. Looks like the Fletcher is going for me now, but I'm close enough to the Essex. I don't bother switching to AP because I don't want to risk him getting any planes into the air and just getting a lucky hit on me. So my HE should finish him off right here. And, well, there we find the Fletcher torps, which are going to kill steal my Essex from me. So no Essex kill for me. Focus is switching to the Fletcher, of course, focusing him. He's down to 840. He shouldn't have any torps left at this point. He disappears, but that's no worry. I just tell in chat, interesting way to deny my Kraken. Then I pop my radar, at which point he has no more escapes, and I finish the game by deleting him. Sadly no Kraken, because as I said, the Fletcher stole my Kraken kill from me by deleting the Essex. But still, for a game against tier 10s, this was a pretty damn good game. And a very fun game as well, because we were very, very close to losing. They had 980 points at one point, but we managed to claw the game back. And of course, getting 2.5k base XP, especially on this horrible map, which I don't like too much, against tier 10s, is always very satisfying. So overall, 2k short of Wither, whatever. A good and a fun game regardless. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.